Hi Angels, it's Teresa from SparkleBrite and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing great. Tonight's video is going to be about a paranormal experience I had when I lived in a two-story house. The reason I'm talking low is because I've been staying with my daughter. She just had her baby and I've been staying with her to help her. Because her husband is away on business, so I have to be kind of quiet with the newborn in the house. So let's get started. This paranormal experience that I had, I lived in a two-story house, and we used to have to go into the house through the back of the house, which was my kitchen, because that's where the driveway was. So we did have a front door, but it was easier to get in through the back door. So, when you would go in through the back, it was a kitchen, and if you made a right, you would be in the dining room, and you could go straight across the dining room into the kitchen, the living room. So, anytime you would walk between the living room and the kitchen to get into the kitchen, or the kitchen to get into the living room, you would feel a cold, cold draft. And this house, we didn't have central AC. We had window units. And our window units were, there was one in the living room and one in each bedroom upstairs. This was a 4-bedroom home, so this is the only places that we had an air condition. So, I mean, that house wouldn't get that cold for you to feel a draft that was like seriously, like if you were in the freezer. That's how cold this draft was in that dining room. Well, little by little things started happening. The first thing that ever happened there was when we first moved in, I had just finished putting stuff up in the dining room, like picture frames and stuff, and I had gone into the living room to sit down to take a little break. And I was sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden a big old crash. I heard a big old crash from the dining room. And the first thing that I thought was, oh no, my picture frame fell and it's all broken. So I got up and I walked into the dining room, and the picture frame was still up on the wall. So I started looking all around the house, upstairs and downstairs, and there wasn't anything broken anywhere. So that's where it all started. And then one day, my daughter, I have a son and 2 daughters, and my son was I think junior. I think he was a junior. I don't think he was a senior in high school. And my daughter was, my middle child, my daughter was, I think she was 9th grade. And then my youngest was, she was about 8. So one day, my middle child had her bedroom upstairs, and she came down, running down the stairs. Mom, Mom. She's like, something's in my room. I said, what are you talking about? And we had a poodle. His name was Rusty. And Rusty came running down the stairs with her. And I said, what happened? She goes, I don't know, Mom. I was in my room, and all of a sudden, Rusty started growling and looking. She thought the dog was looking at her, but what the dog was doing was looking past her. And she's like, he just started growling, Mom, showing his teeth like he saw something. So I just ran out the room. So that's when she came to tell me. And then I had picked my son up from school, and we were walking into the house, like I said, through the kitchen, and I was still in the car getting some things from the car, and he yells out, we named this ghost Mr. Carter, because my landlady's husband died in the bedroom that I would sleep in. He died of a brain aneurysm. So that's why we named him Mr. Carter. So I was still outside getting some stuff from the car, and my son had gone into the house. And all of a sudden I heard him say, "Mom, Mr. Carter is walking up the stairs." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" When I got in the house, I said, "What are you talking about? What happened?" He said, "I just saw Mr. Carter walking up the stairs," which it was my son and my daughter's bedroom upstairs. And he just watched him go up the stairs and into my daughter's bedroom. So I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, just, if he's not hurting you, just ignore it." Okay, so then one day my daughter, my middle child, the one that had her bedroom upstairs, was walking down the stairs, and she tripped and almost fell down the stairs. And this was always happening to her only, going up and down the stairs. And we used to tell her that Mr. Carter was tripping her. And she never saw him. I never saw him, but I would hear him, and I would hear the things he would do around the house. Now, my smallest daughter and my son would see him all the time. My husband never saw or heard anything. So the next thing that happened was I had made supper, and I was so tired that day, and I didn't wash my dishes. I left the dishes in the sink. And just when I laid down, I heard all the house was dark. Everything was out. The kids were asleep. And I heard the pots and pans and the glasses moving around in the kitchen like somebody was getting ready to wash the dishes. They were just clanking and everything in the kitchen. So my husband's like, "Who's in the kitchen?" And I said, "I don't know." And I didn't want to go in there because it was dark in there. So all I did was say, "Mr. Carter, I know you want your house clean. I know you want the dishes washed, but I'm tired and I'll do them in the morning." And when I said that, all the noise stopped. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I just ran to my bed and I got under the covers. And it was so funny because every time we would leave the house and we would come back home, our dog would be under the bed in my room. He always stayed under that bed. Poor baby. Every time we would come home from wherever we were at. And the last thing that happened before we moved out is my little girl, the youngest, which she was 8 at the time, she was walking into the dining room, because that's where the stairs were to go in to the rooms upstairs. She was walking into the dining room, and she saw Mr. Carter walking down the stairs. And she wasn't scared. I mean, we really weren't afraid of him because he never hurt anybody. I mean, he used to make noises around the house, but he never hurt anybody. And I had asked her what he looked like, and she said he had not a tuxedo, but a black jacket, a white shirt, and some black pants. And that's the last of the paranormal experiences we ever had before we moved out of that house. So I hope you enjoyed this experience that I had, and thank you so much for always coming back to watch my videos and support my channel. Like I say, I mean, I really appreciate it. So until my next video, I send you peace and light, and remember to always sparkle bright. Bye.